My friends are honestly embarrassed for me when I bring you around, she said over sushi. I paid for my half and never spoke to her again. Now her friends watch me thrive while she spirals. I'm 29 and need to get this off my chest because it's been a wild ride, and honestly, sharing it might help someone else spot the red flags earlier than I did. This all went down about 8 months ago, but the updates keep coming, and it's turned into one of those stories where life just balances the scales. Let me set the scene. Brittany and I had been together for 2.5 years. We met through mutual friends at a house party in Minneapolis, her working in social media marketing, me as a financial analyst at a regional investment firm. I was the steady type. Good job, making $78K, decent apartment in Northeast Minneapolis, always planning for the future. Brittany, she was ambitious, the kind of person who networked like her life depended on it. LinkedIn events, marketing mixers, brunches with influential people. I supported that. Hell, I funded most of it. 6 months in, she lost her marketing coordinator position during company downsizing. I stepped up without hesitation. Covered her $7,200 monthly rent for 4 months. Paid for $3,500 in professional photography and personal branding courses. Even funded those networking event tickets that ran $200 and $400 each. Never asked for payback. I saw it as investing in our future. We'd moved in together after 18 months, signed a shared lease, joined the same gym. I'd introduced her to my work colleagues. She'd met my extended family. We'd even discussed engagement timelines. Maybe 6 months down the road, once she landed that big marketing manager role. I'd come home exhausted from 12-hour days analyzing portfolios and financial projections. And she'd be out at some mixer, coming back buzzing about the amazing connections she made. I never complained. Being supportive was my thing. Reliable, thoughtful, the guy. Who remembers anniversaries with her favorite Thai takeout, and a quiet night in streaming Netflix. But over time, things shifted subtly. Looking back, the signs were there like breadcrumbs I was too blind to follow. Month 18, she started making comments about my basic work clothes. Jordan, you should dress sharper. The guys in my circle always look put together. Maybe invest in some designer pieces? I brushed it off, figured work stress was talking. Month 20, she asked me to Uber separately to events. It's just easier for networking, babe. I can work the room better solo. By month 24, our couple photos mysteriously disappeared from her Instagram feed, replaced by solo shots and group pics with her ambitious friend circle. Her phone became permanently glued to her hand during our dinner conversations. Late nights working became more frequent. Sudden interest in professional development events that always seemed to run until midnight. But I trusted her. Completely. We weren't perfect, but I was committed. No wandering eyes on my part, no emotional cheating. I pictured proposing someday with a ring I'd been secretly saving for, maybe during a weekend getaway to Duluth once she landed that promotion she kept chasing. The whole thing came crashing down one Friday night at this trendy sushi spot in downtown Minneapolis. Raw fish, dim lighting, overpriced rolls that cost more than my usual burger joint. I wasn't thrilled about the venue. I'm more of a Five Guys guy, but she loved the scene. It's good for us to be seen at places like this, she said when booking the reservation. Image matters in my industry. The entire evening she was off, fidgeting with her chopsticks, checking her Apple Watch every few minutes, barely touching her edamame. Her energy was scattered, distracted, like she was rehearsing something in her head. I tried to lighten the mood, bring her back to us. Rough week at the agency? Tell me about that campaign. Pitch you were prepping for the athletic wear client. She just nodded absently, pushing rice around her plate. Yeah, it's complicated. The conversation felt forced, stilted. Usually we could talk for hours about everything and nothing. Tonight felt like small talk with a stranger. Finally, after the waiter dropped the California rolls neither of us was really eating, she set down her chopsticks with deliberate precision and looked at me with this expression I'd never seen before, pity mixed with determination. Can I be honest, Jordan? She started, her voice casual like we were discussing weekend plans. This has been weighing on me, and I think it's time we talk about it. I paused mid-bite, soy sauce dripping from my roll back onto the plate. Something in her tone made my stomach clench. Sure, what's up? She leaned forward slightly, eyes doing this nervous flick around the room like she was checking for eavesdroppers or familiar faces. My friends? They're honestly embarrassed for me when I bring you around. You're just not impressive. Like, Chloe's boyfriend is a doctor, travels internationally for medical conferences, always has fascinating stories about surgical innovations. Jenna's guy has his own real estate development company, takes her on weekend getaways to his lake property in Brainerd. What do you even bring to the table besides being nice? The words hit like a physical blow. I felt my stomach drop into my shoes, but somehow kept my face neutral through sheer force of will. The expensive sushi suddenly tasted like cardboard mixed with disappointment. Embarrassed? What do you mean exactly? She sighed like I was being intentionally dense, like she was explaining basic math to a child. Come on, don't make this harder than it needs to be. You're sweet, Jordan, really. But in our circle, it's about status, networking, ambition. You sit in your cubicle crunching numbers and building spreadsheets while I'm out building something real, something that matters. My friends ask about you at brunches and networking events, and I have nothing exciting to say. Oh, he's nice, he's stable. That's literally it. It's humiliating for me. I set my chopsticks down slowly, deliberately, buying time to process what I was hearing. Humiliating. The word echoed in my head like a gong. Then the memory hit me like a freight train. Her birthday party last month at that trendy rooftop bar in the North Loop district. I'd shown up in my best shirt, the navy one she'd complimented before, brought a thoughtful gift I'd spent weeks picking out, a custom necklace with her birthstone and our anniversary date engraved on the back. Her friends, Chloe with her surgeon boyfriend who never stopped name-dropping hospitals, Jenna with the real estate guy who talked exclusively about property values, and Paige with some entrepreneur who claimed he was disrupting the food delivery space, barely acknowledged my existence. They'd formed this tight circle, laughing at inside jokes about conferences and investment opportunities, while I stood there holding my beer like a prop. Brittany had pulled me aside later that night. Try to mingle more next time, babe. Don't just stand there. Now it all clicked into place like puzzle pieces I'd been too naive to see. So, this is about how I look to your friends? Not just that, she continued, waving her hand dismissively like she was brushing away crumbs. I've met someone at that networking event last month, the one you skipped because you had that CFP study session. His name's Brandon. He's a startup growth consultant, drives a BMW, knows everyone in the Minneapolis tech scene. He gets me, Jordan. We're on the same level. With you, it's like I'm settling. After everything I'd given up, everything I'd invested in us, I could have pushed back, reminded her about the rent payments that kept her afloat, the career investments I'd made without expecting anything in. Return, how I'd been her emotional and financial rock through every setback. But something inside me went completely quiet. No yelling, no begging, no dramatic gestures. Just this strange, cold clarity. So, you're choosing him because he's impressive? She nodded, looking almost smug now, like she'd rehearsed this entire speech in front of her bathroom mirror. It's not personal, Jordan. I need someone who elevates me, challenges me to be better. You're stable, sure, but stable is boring. Stable doesn't get you invited to the right parties or introduced to the right people. Brandon challenges me, introduces me to real opportunities. My friends love him already. They say he's perfect for me, that we make sense together. You were great for a while, but let's be real. You'd never fit into that world. This is me being kind, ending it now instead of dragging it out and making it messier. Kind. The twisted logic of that word burned in my chest like acid. And what about us? The plans we made? The future we talked about? She actually laughed, a short pitying bark that cut deeper than any insult. Future? Jordan, wake up and smell the reality. I deserve more than a guy who's content with mediocrity. Brandon's taking me to a startup gala next week. Real influencers will be there, actual deals getting made, venture capitalists writing checks. What would you do there? Stand in the corner being nice while my friends die of secondhand embarrassment watching me babysit my boring boyfriend? I stared at her across the table, the restaurant's ambient noise fading into white static. She kept going, justifying her cruelty like it was a TED Talk on personal growth. Look, I'm not the villain here. People grow apart, that's just life. I've outgrown you, and that's not your fault. You should thank me for being honest instead of just ghosting you like most girls would do. At least I'm giving you closure. Thank her for humiliating me over overpriced sashimi. Thank her for 3. Years of emotional investment flushed down the drain for a guy with a leased BMW. I pulled out my wallet with steady hands, counted out my half of the bill, plus a generous tip for our server, who didn't deserve to witness this train wreck, and slid the cash across the table. "Okay, Brittany, good luck with that." Her eyes widened like she'd been expecting tears, shouting, maybe some desperate plea for her to reconsider. "That's it? No fight? No trying to convince me I'm wrong? What would be the point? You can't argue someone into loving you, can't debate your way back into someone's respect once they've decided you're worthless." I stood up, grabbed my coat from the back of my chair. "Enjoy the rest of your night." I walked out into the cool Minneapolis air, heart hammering against my ribs, but my steps steady and deliberate. No looking back, no dramatic pause at the door. Just one foot in front of the other until I reached my car. That drive home was the longest 20 minutes of my life. No radio, no podcasts, just my thoughts racing in circles like a hamster on a wheel. Had I really been that blind to what was happening? The unfairness of it hit me in waves. How I'd supported her dreams while she was secretly ashamed of mine. How I'd funded her networking events where she met my replacement. How I'd introduced her to my colleagues while she was hiding me from hers. I got home to our shared apartment, poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon I'd been saving for a special occasion, and sat in the dark living room surrounded by our combined furniture and shared memories. The silence was deafening. Part of me wanted to call someone, vent to a friend, post something angry on social media, but I didn't. I just breathed through the pain, letting it wash over me without trying to fight it or fix it. The next few weeks blurred together in a haze of logistics and avoidance. I didn't spiral into self-destruction or dramatic gestures. Instead, I went full no contact, like my life depended on it. Blocked her on every platform: phone, Instagram, LinkedIn, email, even Venmo. Changed the locks on our apartment since my name was the only one on the lease anyway. Packed up her stuff methodically, no anger, just efficiency, and left it with her friend Paige. Then I turned inward with laser focus. Work had always been my anchor, so I doubled down hard. That CFP certification I'd been slowly chipping away at for months? I attacked it like a man possessed, studying every evening and weekend. Completed it in 3 months instead of the typical 6. The promotion to senior financial analyst opened up right after, perfect timing. Salary jumped from $78K to $95K, with team leadership responsibilities, and a corner office with windows that actually opened. But it wasn't just about career advancement. I moved out of Northeast Minneapolis to a sleek loft in Uptown. Minimalist design, exposed brick, no reminders of the life I'd shared with someone who saw me as an embarrassment. I hit the gym with the same methodical intensity I brought to everything else. Not for show, not to post shirtless selfies, but for me. Started with morning runs around the chain of lakes to clear my head and process the betrayal. Graduated to serious weight training, meal prep, the whole transformation. Most importantly, I started volunteering at the free tax preparation clinic downtown every Saturday. Helping elderly folks and recent immigrants navigate their finances gave me perspective on what actually mattered in life. That's where I met Zoe, graphic designer for a local nonprofit, the kind of person who lit up talking about community impact instead of Instagram followers. She was beautiful in an understated way. Wore thrift store dresses that looked better on her than Brittany's designer outfits ever had. And when she laughed at my terrible tax jokes, it felt genuine. Our first conversation lasted 3 hours over terrible clinic coffee. She asked what I did for work, and when I explained portfolio analysis and financial planning, her eyes actually lit up instead of glazing over. "That's incredible," she said. "You're helping people build their futures. That takes real skill and patience." Skill and patience. Not boring, not embarrassing, just valuable. Our first real date was a simple picnic at Minnehaha Falls on a crisp October afternoon. She brought homemade sandwiches and a thermos of actually good coffee. I brought a blanket and stories that made her laugh until she snorted. When she said, "I like how grounded you are, Jordan. It's refreshing," I felt something heal inside my chest that I didn't even realize had been broken. Meanwhile, I launched my side tax consulting business, targeting small businesses and freelancers who couldn't afford the big firms. Turned out I was damn good at it. My first client referred 3 others within a month. My bank account grew steadily, but more importantly, my confidence followed. I was building something real, something that mattered, without needing anyone's permission or validation. About 4 months after the sushi dinner, I started hearing whispers through our mutual friend Chris, the only person from our old circle who'd stayed genuinely neutral. He'd grab beers with me occasionally, never gossiping maliciously, but keeping me loosely informed about the wreckage Brittany's choices were creating. "Dude," Chris said one Thursday night at Surly Brewing, "that Brandon guy is unraveling fast, like spectacularly fast." I sipped my beer, genuinely curious but not vindictive. "What do you mean?" Turns out his whole startup growth consultant thing was complete bullshit. Fake LinkedIn credentials, made-up client testimonials, the works. His office was a WeWork hot desk he'd lost access to for non-payment. Even that BMW he was always flexing, lease payments bounced so hard they repoed it from Brittany's apartment complex. The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd traded stability for flash, and the flash turned out to be fool's gold. Chris continued, "Get this. He convinced her to co-sign a $15K credit card for his business expenses, flights to conferences that didn't exist, equipment for companies that were never real. When his house of cards collapsed, he just disappeared. Blocked her on everything, moved out of his apartment in the middle of the night. Left her holding all that debt. I felt a flicker of something. Not quite satisfaction, but cosmic justice maybe. The universe had a sense of humor after all. Her friend circle turned brutal when the truth came out," Chris added. "Chloe stopped returning texts because the drama was affecting her professional image. Jenna unfollowed her on everything and told people the whole situation was too messy to be associated with. Paige actually posted a story about toxic people that everyone knew was about Brittany. They scattered like roaches when the lights came on. That's when Brittany's desperation kicked into overdrive. It started subtle. A 2 a.m. text from a new number. 'Hey, Jordan, been thinking about us. Can we talk?' I read it while lying next to Zoe, who was fast asleep after we'd spent the evening cooking dinner together and watching Netflix. Felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no sadness, no temptation to respond. Just emptiness where those feelings used to live. Deleted it without a second thought. Next came the voicemails, her voice cracking with what sounded like genuine desperation. 'Jordan, pick up please. I need to explain. Brandon was a mistake, a huge mistake. I miss your stability, your kindness. Everything's falling apart, and I realize now what I threw away. Call me back.' Stability. The very word she'd mocked 6 months earlier. I blocked that number too. She escalated by looping in her remaining friends. Chloe actually called me one evening. 'Come on, Jordan. Don't be petty. Brittany's really hurting. Her family's worried about her. You should at least hear her out. You guys had something real for 3 years.' 'Not interested,' I said calmly. 'I wish her well, but that chapter's closed.' The final confrontation happened last month at Chris's birthday party at that same rooftop bar in the North Loop, where I had felt so invisible at Brittany's birthday the year before. This time felt different. I walked in with Zoe's hand in mine, wearing a perfectly fitted shirt from my upgraded wardrobe, carrying myself with the confidence that comes from knowing exactly who you are and what you're worth. Heads turned when we entered. Chloe waved enthusiastically. 'Jordan, oh my God, you look amazing. That promotion really suits you.' Jenna nodded approvingly from across the bar. 'Seriously, that marathon training paid off. Goals.' Their comments on my LinkedIn posts had evolved from non-existent to fire emoji reactions to actual congratulations on my business milestones. They watched me thrive in real time while their former ringleader spiraled. Then I saw her, Brittany, looking disheveled and nursing what appeared to be her 3rd or 4th drink, sitting alone in a corner booth that felt worlds away from the confident social butterfly I'd once known. She spotted me immediately, her eyes tracking my movement across the room like a heat-seeking missile. She approached while Zoe was in the bathroom, movement slightly unsteady, desperation written across her face in permanent marker. 'Jordan, hi, I didn't expect you here.' Her voice was shaky, uncertain, nothing like the woman who delivered my humiliation with surgical precision over sushi. I turned toward her, polite but distant. the way you'd acknowledge a former coworker you barely remembered. "Brittany, good to see you." She glanced toward the bathroom where Zoe had disappeared, then back at me, her composure cracking visibly. "I see you're doing well with her. She's pretty. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for that night at the restaurant. The comparisons, the things I said about your friends being embarrassed. My friends were wrong to push those ideas on me. I was wrong to listen. Brandon destroyed me financially and emotionally. But it made me realize what I lost. Can we try again? Or at least talk privately?" No sympathy stirred in my chest. Instead, I reflected her own logic back at her with calm precision. "You said I wasn't impressive, right? Just nice, embarrassing to your circle. Well, life's evolved beyond that pressure now. I've got real connections. People who value substance over status symbols. You've got your own path to figure out." Her eyes filled with tears that might have moved me once upon a time. "That's cruel, Jordan. I was dismissive and wrong, but I've changed. I've learned. Please." "Facts aren't cruel," I said firmly but not unkindly. "My life's full now. Career's thriving. Zoe's incredible. Friends who don't measure worth by job titles or car payments. You made your choice based on what mattered to you then." Zoe returned from the bathroom at that moment, sliding her arm through mine with easy affection. I turned back to our group, effectively ending the conversation. Brittany lingered for another moment, muttering something I couldn't hear, but eventually retreated to her corner booth and left shortly after. Walking out with Zoe later, her hand warm in mine, I realized Brittany had become completely irrelevant to my happiness. A ghost from a chapter I'd closed and moved beyond. Her former friends now comment enthusiastically on my social media, while she's blocked from seeing any of it. The best revenge really is living well. Thanks for reading, Reddit. Sometimes the right response to being called not enough is simply proving them wrong by becoming everything you were meant to be.